Come on. There we go. Hello, everyone. It's Future Friday, and of course, I am your host, DBJ, on the channel RPG with DBJ. Now, we take a subject. We've been talking about dragons all week. Take that subject and we split it up today. With it being Future Friday, we get to talk about dragons in the modern era all the way into the far future. Now, I will let you know that I'm not feeling too good, so I apologize if the dead zone in my voice is a little bit too irritating and such, and I may have to take the opportunity to cut these cut the live stream short, especially if I start coughing and hacking or something like that. But when it comes to using dragons in the modern world, there's two big things that really stick out for us. Zevran is talking about never cut a deal with a dragon in Shadowrunners. The Shadowrun tabletop RPG is the one that really has taken dragons into the forefront in terms of science fiction and cyberpunk and all that kind of stuff. Pillar-ist in the chat as well. And of course, I always have to tell everyone that if you are unable, you want to participate live, but you are unable, or it's just pretty much problematic for you to participate in the chat on YouTube, if you join Discord, you can also participate there. Now, specifically, we are under Fantasy Grounds College Discord, and on the left, if you slide all the way past the classrooms and the other play areas and other students hanging around, we are down in the boiler room. So, and I always say, that's where the cool kids hang out. Now, Zeron says, but of course the party does cut a deal with the dragon, and then the adventure begins. Yeah, dragons, for like anyone doesn't know this. Okay, Shadowrun is a mix of magic and technology in a cyberpunk kind of corporation. There's only the rich and the destitute, with dragons possibly having cybernetic implants, and PCs running around as Shadowrunners performing illegal activities like corporate espionage and assassinations and kidnappings and things of that nature. And of course, much like fantasy, dragons, sitting on their treasure and commanding the landscape and the people with them. There's many a dragon that controls are literally CEOs of corporations, jacked into the Matrix and all that other kind of stuff. So it's actually kind of cool. It's kind of weird, but it's kind of cool. Yeah. Yeah. Zero says that sounds like now, just with no dragons. I don't know. I think there might be some people that might consider themselves to be a dragon in that kind of world. Polaris says, I really want to like Shadowrun as a setting, but I just can't get over the tusky little faces. Yeah. Zevron's our dystopia is so boring. Now the Shadowrun, there was an event that brought about the elves and dwarves and trolls and orcs and things like that. So that's the conceit of Shadowrun. So yeah. Our dystopia is slowly taking over. Now, another I guess you could call it a cult classic in terms of someone deciding to use dragons in a modern age is a movie called Reign of Fire. And it's a movie that now we know, because the two main actors in the movie are very popular, and we know of their skill in acting, which is Matthew McConaughey and Christian Bale. At the time, I'm sure they were unknowns. And no. Sorry, a sneeze sneaking up on me. Excuse me. So Sorry, if that happens too much, guys, I may have to cut it. So the idea behind Rain of Fire is that an archaeological dig unearths a dragon, and maybe an egg hatches, or it was buried under the ground, or whatever the case may be, and it flies forward, and then maybe a dozen years later, the world is just destroyed, and this fire-breathing dragon has been breeding other dragons and laying eggs, and the dragons burn organic matter and eat the ash, and of course, whenever you're fighting something that is, spoiler alert for a movie that's, I don't know how friggin' old it is, since what, 2002 maybe. That the conceit is that if you kill the mommy dragon, you therefore can kill the other dragons that exist in the world and such, and yeah. Oh man. Yeah, Rickard says, everyone conserving ammo and getting ready to geek the mage? Yeah, that's a Shadowrun thing. That's a it's Shadowrun, and Cyberpunk is a creature unto itself. But before we started, I was kind of picking with the idea of like cybernetic dragons, with Tesla talking about like who in their right mind would want to even design cybernetics for a dragon, and what circumstances would it take to force a dragon to have to include like cybernetics into itself, unless they've chosen to do so. And that would be, I can't, it's like, would a dragon decide to defile its own self to get cybernetics? I suppose in a high-tech world, maybe, but it's just kind of funny. Like, I wouldn't want to be that. I wouldn't want to be blamed for that guy that designed dragon-sized cybernetics, because everyone's just looking at you like, you little bastard. Can't believe you designed cybernetics for dragons. Zevran says, I still love the wish-granting dragons in the sci-fi setting of Destiny. The idea of them granting wishes, even if you don't consciously make it, and getting more powerful with each wish. And death is more of a suggestion for them, as even just holding one of their bones causes you to hear voices, encourage you to make wishes. Now, I never particularly heard of dragons making wishes, but they're much like, for me, the idea of celestial dragons beseeching a dragon for knowledge or to travel to other worlds or something. I think it only takes another step or two for them to grant wishes and such. So yeah, I can imagine that. And of course, since we've gotten to Future Friday, we can talk about the death of dragons. And like you're saying, Zev, about their bones, there's the concept of like even dead dragons affecting the landscape. So it would be pretty interesting to have like an intergalactic travel, community or something, that people travel to a planet and are like the bones of dragons on this world that have shaped it or shifted it around, like almost terraformed it just by the dragon's mere presence, even in death. Something, yeah. I would love to give a dragon laser eyes. Yeah, the rest of us wouldn't. So yeah, don't do that. Plur says, if your dragons can't fly for long or can only glide, you might give them better wings. Yeah, better wings, maybe a jetpack or something. You could get one of those space dragons from the 80s cartoon, the Herculoids, who had laser eyes, breath weapons, and a blast out of its tail for some reason. But that was just, yeah, dragon cults in space. Yeah. Now Zev says, a dragon has chosen to defile itself to become a Dracolich, so there's got to be a cyborg dragon somewhere. Yeah, I'm not saying it would not exist. So don't get me wrong. I'm just thinking of the mindset it would take for an immortal creature, and one that is very prideful, maybe not immortal, but close enough, right? And something that's prideful and powerful in its own right, to have to make that choice or be forced to make that choice. Like what power harmed a dragon enough that it has to have like one cyber limb and replace its eye, right? Like, what conflict caused that to happen, and so I think exploring that would be pretty cool. Like, yeah, there's a dragon with cybernetics, and the PCs are like, how'd that happen? And then maybe the dragon's like, yeah, I want you to kill my enemy. They did this to me. Zev's love of Destiny. Destiny 2, in Destiny 2, warriors were hunting a wish dragon and were fighting it for hours, but one of them was confused why it didn't die already. Apparently, the fighter wished the fight would never end, so the dragon stayed alive, getting more power to not die from the wish. Wow. Ooh. That's a strange thing. Now, for those who don't know, there is a video game, Destiny and Destiny 2. Let's not go into people's opinion of the game, but let's talk about the concept of a far future that is so far in the future that it starts to mimic some of our fantasy tropes. So like in Destiny, and I believe especially in Destiny 2, you have people with guns and jetpacks and things, but you also have like wizard-like individuals and people wielding swords and casting spell-like effects and things of that nature, kind of a blending between magic and technology and such. So if we talked about this, about the idea of like, yeah, I like lizard folk, but not dragonborn. I like dragons, but not dinosaurs and stuff. I think that was Hugh, Pelora, and I'm kind of with you. Like, there is a weird, like, I don't know why I like one but not the other, but there are many people that are like that, where they think, yeah, dragons equal fantasy. Dragons don't belong in science fiction, period, right? No matter how you try to rationalize it. So I think there will be those individuals. Zevron says, Ahamara makes great high-level baddies. Is that a name of something or a setting? Ricker says, quote, the dragon wants us to kill its enemy. You realize that said enemy was the one that forced the dragon to chrome up, right? Yeah. 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 If it ripped off a dragon's arm and put a dragon's eye out, you might not want to go up against it. Yeah. Oh, that's the name of the wish dragons. The Ahamkara. That's anyway. I'm going to stick with that pronunciation. So there. Laura put in the Discord a link to the Apple Eye Dragon. I also think there's a dirty dragon out there somewhere. If you guys get my meaning, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. So anyway, the idea of dragons in a science fiction world kind of presents to us this idea that dragons are, of course, they live longer, and their concept and their perception of the world is so much grander than ours, so that it almost behooves us to have dragons in a far more social setting. And because I see a comment there, Zeron. It almost makes dragons into a social setting, with dragons being CEOs of corporations, or dragons being leaders of criminal organizations or something. In a science fiction world, whether they are like the dragons in Reign of Fire, which have destroyed the world and such, that unless they are animalistic, I can imagine people realizing in the science fiction world that there's something we can learn from dragons that are out there, whether it is maybe they see things beyond our sight. Maybe dragons are able to become the creatures that are able to transport people from world to world, or go from dimension to dimension. Kind of blending dragons with the concept that they become the epitome of other. They become the epitome of the fantasy that we wished we discovered in a far future setting, if that makes sense. Essentially wrapping dragons around the idea of like ghosts and vampires and wizards and giants and spells and things, and that they become the epitome of that. Zevran says the name Ahamkara was based on a Middle Eastern word for ego. I like that. I like that a lot. Rickard says, quote, and that is why you don't make a deal with a dragon. I swear I need some new contacts. Yeah. And like, wait a minute. Another Mr. Johnson that's a dragon? Excuse me. Yeah, that's nasty. Okay. Deborah says, I would love a dragon version of Lex Luthor. A humanitarian that invests in the future of a city, treating the people in it like free-range humans or future employees. Yeah, free range. Oh, don't they look cute? Getting kind of plump there. Go ahead, human. Feed. Yeah, exactly. But a dragon like Lex Luthor, it comes to the point where, okay, we already talked about this earlier in the week, but it must be said, right? We talked about dragon tactics and things and how powerful they are, and the problem with fighting a dragon that's just like, I'm going to take my sword and attack the dragon, and the dragon's like flying in the air, and he's like, I don't think I'm going to land in front of you. I'm just going to blast you. Now imagine taking that into the future, right? It's like it's like, a dragon cyborged out with magic and jacked into the World Wide Web or something. Man, they would just be. I can't imagine taking a dragon down in the far future. I mean, first of all, they're going to have they'll have drones and agents and snipers and robots and oh man. And then once you fight them on their own, I could imagine them taking a building down around the ears of the PCs or something. It's pretty nasty. Everyone's like, how you doing, Mr. Jackson? Had a nice turkey dinner with the family? Sure did, Mr. Johnson. Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, turkey dinner with the family. Had turkey dinner and the family. Plura says, I quite like the idea of a cult having dragon bones with some sort of inherent power, with all natural dragons being extinct, and then artificially creating new dragons, flesh or metal, for defense. Ooh. That would be, wouldn't it be interesting if the idea of like dinosaurs, the DNA of dinosaurs being held in the blood of mosquitoes in a little ball of amber, i.e. Jurassic Park, but scientists are they actually found a genetic material of real dragons, or some organization creates a chimera effect where they decide to artificially create dragons, and then the world goes to hell because after creating the first dragon, maybe they intend on creating more of them. Or who's to say that dragons aren't an alien race and have come here? Listen, if technology can create a dragon, they will, right? You can look on the internet for individuals that created transforming mecha-sized dragons that breathe fire, because we love the concept of dragons. It's the idea of these winged fire-breathing things and stuff. They represent all of our fears and in some ways some of our desires, that we wish we were as powerful as a dragon, as intelligent and long-lived, and could harness the power of the elements, and much like us domesticating some of the most dangerous predators to exist in the world. The idea of commanding and harnessing the power of a poisonous snake and a deadly feline and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, King Ghidorah. I just saw Godzilla King of the Monsters, and it wasn't bad. You know, King Ghidorah with three heads. I love the fact that they added in like one of King Ghidorah's heads was had its own intentions to do things. Um, and that movie was a post-apocalyptic thing, you know, of the kaiju coming to life, that they were in stasis, asleep, and brought about from our atomic age. So if you, I think it makes sense, especially if you want to do a mecha piloting kind of world. Not that you have to, but if you wanted to have like kaiju and Jaegers and giant robots fighting giant monsters and things, makes perfect sense to include something like that as well. And they don't really explain the shape of the monsters in the Godzilla franchise, but a lot of them are like super titan sized versions of the animals we have here, whether it's moths or mammoths and those kind of things. So dragons kind of fit in there, especially with Techno-Dragons being in the real world. Says they tried to create the first dragon and ended up making the Tarrasque. Yeah, the Tarrasque kind of fits into that mold as a dragon, kind of. Although for some reason it is its own thing. But I could see someone running a modern day setting, like a D20 setting, and the Tarrasque might be like the titan of all dragons, a little mindless, laying eggs and maybe giving birth to a new species of dragons today. And of course, we get to, if you really want to go into it, yeah, yes, says the Tarrasque is a non-copyright infringement Godzilla. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I had to come up with something. You're like, we're gonna call it Godrilla. Yeah, no, stop. Right? Rickard says, I mean, it's a flying Hydra from outer space. Yeah, the King Ghidorah. Oh, you know, what were I can't remember all the Godzilla creatures' names. But in that movie, they had the flying pterodactyl looking thing that had like the ever burning it was like it was burning off of its wings because it came out of a giant sized volcano or something like that. So is that Rodan? Is Rodan the pterodactyl? Pterodactyl? Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's Rodan, King Ghidorah, Mothra, Godzilla, and some others. There was a Mecha Godzilla, which was the giant robot shaped like Godzilla, which kind of doesn't make any sense. Like you can make a giant robot and not make it shaped exactly like Godzilla. I think it had missiles off of his toes, if I'm recalling. It's been too long since I've seen those. You're talking 35 years or more. Pillar says, I also quite like massive dragons used as starships of some sort, like dragonborn filled drop pods. Ooh, I was going to say that you can completely get out of the classic D&D dragons and go more towards like you could have like comet dragons, void dragons, stellar dragons, gravity dragons, maybe shadow, starlight dragons, or supernova, quasar, pulsar dragons. That'd be kind of strange, but kind of cool, especially if like you're saying, P, that like they are used as some sort of starship. Now you would have to decide, are dragons sentient and intelligent, or are they more bestial and animal like? Are they more instinctual, traveling throughout the cosmos and able to to fly at super light speeds or even sublight speeds inside of a gravity well or something like that? Yes, it's like DBJ says, this doesn't make any sense. Why make a robot Godzilla to fight Godzilla? Asian scientists from the first movie, let them fight. Yeah, yeah. Oh man. Well, listen, just because I say that doesn't make any sense, is that's code for me to go, hey, let's let this happen and figure out why, right? I mean, we are quite we are quite brilliant um people in the tabletop RPG community, and it's pretty easy for us to go to look at something and say, that wouldn't work, that doesn't make any sense, that wouldn't fit. But that shouldn't be the period to the end of the sentence. That should be our opening to go, this thing doesn't fit in this, these two things don't work together. Let's figure out how we can make them work. Shadowrun is a perfect example of that. A lot of people would go, please don't put your peanut butter in my chocolate, right? When it comes to Shadowrun and putting trolls and orcs and elves in a cyberpunk world, but they did it and they went full force in, they dove headfirst into it, started swimming around in it, backstroking in it, and until it's become its own thing. So dragons in a sci-fi world of people traveling between planets and habitats, and maybe there's like maybe the dragons are enemies of society, and that's why there's like a Fermi paradox or something. I don't know. But yeah, I sure look like, dragons don't fit. Let's make them fit. Let's figure out why they're out there, Zevron says, yeah, this dragon gives up 5 light years to the to the soul. The what? I mean, the gallon. Hop on in. Yeah. Yeah. What? Hey, what does it eat? Don't worry about it. Just relax, have a seat. I know you're feeling a little tired, but don't worry about it. You'll be taking a nap. Am I going into stasis? Sure, if that's what you want to call it. Palora's like, please don't spoil Cyberpunk with tusky faces. I love Cyberpunk. Yeah, it's its own thing. I know Rickard's like, Cyberpunk doesn't make sense, and I'm like, it sure doesn't. I love it. Yeah, a long-term form of stasis. Well, especially if you're being extruded as celestial feces after the dragon eats you. Oh man, that'd be so strange. Now, um, we could go the route of dragons being a form of like dragon cults in this future world where people have become allies of these dragons, or the dragons are much like your wish dragons in Destiny 2. Maybe the dragons are in like in territorial disputes, and those territorial disputes can cover dozens, if not thousands, of light years. And so each form of dragon could have its own adherents, or at least individuals that have maybe are trying to bring them back, because many of these alien worlds have had dragons that have passed away. That seems to be another thing that's a commonality amongst dragons, that they don't breed fast and they don't breed often, and they are also very often dying out for some reason due to whatever event it is. So if we're talking modern to far future, it could be anything from like stellar energies to black holes to anything like that might be powering them or allowing them to live. And so it would be pretty interesting for there to be some even PCs that are trying to bring the dragons back to life, because they are very they're part of the natural order in the cosmos, whereas others are like they need to stay dead and be dead. Or maybe there are natural like nebula or other places where these dragons exist, and slowly and surely they're starting to escape or leave their territorial region because of the death of stars, and they're leaving those regions, and maybe there are starships and things formed around them. Now, I don't know if would you ride on the back of a dragon or walk into its mouth or something. Let's come up. We can come up with some way for people to travel through the cosmos on dragons. Maybe it's just a simple idea of just climbing on the back of a dragon, and we just assume that's the way it is. Now, Zev says, I love the design of Aurelian Soul in League of Legends, a dragon made out of the cosmos and stars, a being that is a world ender and world creator, crushing suns and creating new ones as it wills. Yeah, ow. I wouldn't anything that's like large enough for a dragon, like a dragon's claw to put its claws around an entire planet. I don't think that's a thing you wanna fight. Maybe that's something that you wanna where is the picture? I don't see it in the Discord. Oh, okay, I know what your Discord. Okay. Yeah, I don't know if I would want to combat a dragon that like brings about the life and death of stars. Although it would be kind of interesting for a dragon to breathe new life into a dying star or something. That'd be kind of cool. Plura says moving scales which form a seal, or the scales are hollow and can be launched out as landing craft. Oh, you mean something. I was thinking, maybe my mind was thinking something a little smaller. That's actually kind of cool. Zev says, I mean, at level 20, that's just Tuesday. Yeah. But yeah, okay, I could, all right, dragon scales that are almost like dragon scales the size of like landing craft shuttles. I feel you. Maybe if they're large enough, you know how you imagine dragons that have like horns and ridges on them. Could you imagine glowing lights along the back ridge of a dragon, and you get closer and you realize those are like habitats, like people are living on the spines of the dragon, like strangely formed towers and such. And when you get even closer, they look like fireflies, but then you realize those are like shuttlecraft moving between the buildings and stuff like that. That would be pretty amazing. Pretty bonkers, but I'm liking that. I'm liking that idea of dragons of being of that size or something. That'd be pretty cool. Now, going to war with a dragon that size would be pretty ridiculous unless you're using like what's above nuclear weapons, like antimatter weapons or something, or dark matter weapons. You'd have to come up with something that kind of rips apart reality quite a bit, but gravitonic weapons, maybe ones powered by neutrinos, maybe X-ray missiles, gamma ray lasers, things like that. Yeah, you could go pretty cool. Thanks for the idea, guys. Thank you. I'm going to blame if I make a gaming supplement with a bunch of people running around with X-ray laser pistols and gamma ray laser rifles and stuff. I'm going to blame you guys fighting stellar dragons or something. Although I think that would be kind of cool. Does this kind of flow with the idea of Spelljammer and taking ships through the cosmos? I could see that. Zev says you could really make an empire out of that. First minister of the scale. Yeah. I'm thinking the same thing. Like there might be worlds where the dragons have gone to and died, and almost like dragon cemeteries and such. And the people have like built cults and societies around around the impact of dragons. I'm trying to say this without like it could be something that the dragons have done by accident, just by their mere existence, or it could be something left for the societies they knew would come after the passing of the dragons. It would be kind of interesting to think of humanity genetically altering themselves to become more dragon-like, because that might be uh a the next step in evolution of humanity, right? So in a way, dragons are like they're the pinnacle predator, right? They're the top of the food chain. They can survive in uh, different environments. They're extremely long lived. They're very intelligent. They have um, a body and a structure that can survive so many horrors. They any natural predators they can fight off, whatever. Of course, they have the ability to fly. They can harness some sorts of elemental powers by breathing. Of course, their breath weapons. um, they harness they harness magic, which might be like psionics, or you could have them harnessing background radiations and things of that nature. And maybe humanity starts to alter itself to be more dragon-like. Yeah. Zev says, imagine a Cold War, depending on breath attack, hot war. Yeah. Gaseous war, acidic war, lightning war, between rival empires and their celestial in the planetary sense. Yeah, dragons. I would absolutely love that, especially if, like, I could imagine like armored soldiers with like dragon emblems on their armor, maybe having some forms of a fire dragon using plasma rifles for their soldiers, whereas like the a white dragon, a frost dragon, they would be using like they'd be using cryo weapons and stuff. Yeah, I could see that very much. And even stellar wizards, much like Destiny 2 or Destiny and Destiny 2, where you have these armored individuals, but they might be lightly armored using spell-like abilities, but the spells aren't your normal like elemental spells like earth, air, fire, water. Instead, it might be meteorite, nebula, or gas giant. What's fire? Fire would be radiation, maybe, or corona, and water might be comet, frozen landscape. I don't know, but anyway, you get my point, right? Those might be the elemental powers that the dragons harness, and then we as humanity want to step into that realm and be that. Yeah, I like that. Pillar says, Zevron goes on to say, Dragonborn become the default of society, and humans are lower scale, needing to prove themselves to become exalted or transform into a Dragonborn. Maybe, just maybe, the dragon-blooded sorcerer is a step towards that. Yeah, I thought the same thing. It hit me too. Plural's like lower scale. I like that. Yeah, figuratively and literally, lower scale might be a lower scale, right? Like, oh, you're of the lower scale there, human. Yeah, I want to be like you. Prove it. Puller says you could roll with the invasion when they are at their peak influence, having taken over, or the dragon overlords are dying out. Yeah. Zipper says, fire, ice, and lightning? Fool! We use true elements, uranium, hydrogen, and helium. I love that. I love that. Hey, you could go through the periodic table and find some really cool elements like salts, and well, salt isn't a specific element, but you get what I'm saying, right? Helium, yeah, I'm with you, Plura. Helium dragons, well, copper dragons would fit. Maybe your copper dragons have electromagnetic pulses. Um, Mercury dragons that are helium dragon, like, wouldn't that just be a balloon? Yeah. I'm going to breathe on you. He's got the high-pitched voice. Hey, stop it! I'm going to take over this planet. Yeah. Oh, sorry. uh, Plur says maybe it's how such a big thing flies. Ooh, yep. Yeah, yeah, Zeb. Yeah. Would it have a high pitched, squeaky voice? Hell yeah. Oh man, or maybe that's how they live in the gas giant. Like they live in the upper reaches of gas giants. Now, if we don't want to make them silly, they could have winged sacs in around their body or something that allows them to breathe in and out some of the noxious fumes and gases on planets like Jupiter, Saturn, or like Titan or something of that nature, which would be pretty cool. Yeah, Tesla Ranger says polonium dragon, highly radioactive. Yeah. Um, I think that would be sweet. A bunch of you could have various types of radioactive dragons, and you could measure their power by their half-life. So a dragon might reach its full potential during its half-life, at which point maybe it starts to rapidly degenerate after its half-life, and it's going around maybe trying to find other radioactive materials that are used to travel the cosmos or something. Plus, you know the neon dragons are the ones I want. Yeah. Go ahead, cyber mistress. That's all right. So it's like silly on this show. When have we ever? Yeah. Sorry. I got to do it. Oh man. Oh, that's nasty. Embarrassing. Oh well. That's what you get here, guys. Squeaky voices and runny noses. But I, I, to me, I'm thinking that would be pretty cool, especially if the dragons are. It's kind of a weird cycle, which I love because sometimes I've noticed this. I don't know if you guys noticed this, where we start talking about here on Future Friday, but there's this cyclical cycle of things where if you push something so far into the future that it starts to turn back in it on itself to become prehistoric and medieval and fantasy like. And for me, I'm imagining these literal elemental dragons, like the dragons that are part of like the periodic table. They are part. They represent the foundations of the universe, and over time, those foundations of the universe become the building blocks of this vast empire. But maybe humanity has fragmented so much and are spread so far away that turning back into a medieval style culture is just a natural part of things happening. So, for example, if you guys ever listen to or watch and or listen to Isaac Arthur, which I absolutely suggest, he talks about vast civilizations across the cosmos, and one of the things that may happen amongst our own society is that when we start to spread among the stars and we have genetic engineering and things, we might be our own aliens we may meet in the future because they will be so far away. And so there could be, you could wrap up this interstellar empire. I'll call it like the Spiral Arm Empire or something like that. This intergalactic empire that's so many hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of light years spread across the stars, so that you could have different sections where some treat dragons like a cult. Others have learned how to harness the actual foundations of the universe using their own minds or something. Scott Post says, "Oh, missed today. After, can you touch on Discord? Is there a chat?" Yes, there is, Scott. I didn't know that you did not know that. The show is simulcast both here on YouTube, and the audio broadcast is through a DBJ voice channel, and now that is over at Fantasy Grounds College. So if you love Discord, or you're someone who just prefers to listen in on the show, you can listen in on the Fantasy Grounds College Discord. Of course, you have to join Discord first, then join Fantasy Grounds College's Discord. And then when you see all the classrooms, if you on the left, slide down past the classrooms and all the other students doing their thing, and we're down in the boiler room. So that's where you can, and of course, YouTube doesn't allow you to post links, pictures, things like that. So you can post links to videos and whatnot. Yeah, Zev, they have that's the primarily all right. Yeah, Zev, they do have a Discord. That's primarily where, if you want to learn how to Fantasy Grounds College is the place where, if you want to learn how to learn how to use Fantasy Grounds and find other players for Fantasy Grounds and that kind of thing, that's where you do it. But it's primarily through Discord, so that's why it's there. Pillar-ist like a simulcast dragon. Yeah, copyright Pillar 2019. Yep. You got that right. So we got to end that on a high note. So I give Pillar the slow clap. Thank you so much, guys. Today is Future Friday. I think, despite the inherent ridiculousness of dragons and science fiction and flying through space and stuff. Yeah, thanks, Z. I'm taking a ton of meds and things, although I can only take so many because I've got to go to work today. But that being said, a ton of vitamin C, drinking tea, that kind of thing. So yeah, this weekend I'm going to take care of myself. So thank you very much. And if it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be able to I don't know, do a daily show. I mean, I'm probably one of the few singular daily shows revolving around tabletop RPGs on the internet, probably. So yeah, so you guys are like my morning coffee. You inject me, you get inside me and fuel me. So guys, I thank you for being inside me. I appreciate it so much. You stay warm up inside me, keeping me nice and giving me the warm embrace. Yeah. Everyone's like, this is oh, thank you. Yeah. So it's like, yeah, it was cool. Now you had to make it weird. Everybody, I want everyone to have a great day. Again, about 10 to 15 minutes before the stream and about 10 to 15 minutes afterwards, I also hang out in the Discord quite a bit. So if you're someone who's like, if you have audio, and you want to speak, you can do that as well. So if you guys join the Discord, you can do that as well. So that information is down below. So guys, everybody have a great day. Have a great weekend. I will see thee Monday. Monday, we will be doing something a little bit more meta, talking about, we tend not to talk about best practices here, meaning like metagaming and min-maxing and stuff like that. But we're going to kind of do a subject like that next week. I'll surprise you guys. So hasta luego. See ya. Bye. Everybody take care.